All right, let's jump into things. So here we are, where we are, just before 11, 10:56 on the 18th of Feb. We got RBA Tuesday. So look, good place to sort of start off. Actually, that chart is gold, but let's start off with Aussie anyway, just because obviously sort of Aussie has been under massive pressure in that sort of everybody knows this for the last couple of months or so, but the last week or so, it's really been ripping up. I mean, partly due to obviously sort of US dollar weakness, which we've seen sort of come by, and also partly due to the fact that I think a lot of, as I said, like, a lot of it's priced in. Everyone's been going, oh, yep, RBA is sort of going to be cutting soon, going to be cutting soon. I think the latest I saw was like 40 out of 43 economists. This means pretty much next to nothing because these guys aren't don't have a particularly sort of great sort of track record. But they're all sort of predicting that. And what the takeaway with that is basically is that you could say it's priced in. And by priced in means kind of like, and I've covered this a few times with it all, is the sort of this move down through here. Even in periods of US dollar weakness, they were still selling Aussie. I mean, US dollar strength is what has really been the driver to get this smacked. But, we're talking sort of from highs to lows, remember, 11%. Actually, this actually got a little bit lower, didn't it? So right down here. So that's like a 12% drop in a couple of months from the highs over there. And that's like sort of obviously down to that very bottom wick, just where we had that gap down the other week. But the point is that sort of like, that is a massive, massive drop off. So what we're sort of seeing, obviously, through this period is US dollar weak, strength, coupled with the idea that Aussie RBA are going to be cutting. And they're one of the last central banks to, I'd say, enter the cutting cycle, but that would sort of probably imply that they're going to have multiple sort of cuts. And I think this is the sticking point for today, and particularly why, which I'm slowly getting towards the point, is that Aussie has been appreciating in the most recent price action, even though we've got this rate decision, which is heavily tipped to be a cut coming today. So by that unpacked, basically, I mean that, the market's already priced it in. They've already smashed it down with the idea that they're going to cut. US dollar weakness has helped us sort of get up here a little bit. But even sort of coming into, this week, we started here yesterday. Like I was saying, okay, look, I'd like to get back down here for some buys. I'd like to get down here for some buys. I still would. And look, you know what? If they do cut, there's a chance you get a knee-jerk reaction to sort of come down here. But where I think the market is actually sort of really moving towards is the idea that they may cut, but it may be a hawkish cut. They may say, hey, look, you know what? We're going to wait. This is just a one-off. We're going to wait and see what's going to happen, what kind of effects are going to happen, what's going to happen with, the other central banks around the world in regards to sort of, their inflation. Because remember, we've got the Fed, that's 4 months in a row, it's slowly ticked up, albeit small, but they have slightly ticked up. I can't remember, so did we get, I think we got the UK on the weekend. I was sure that we had UK CPI, maybe later in the week. I can't see. Oh, here we go. Yeah, UK sort of CPI here, 2.5 to 2.8, 3.2 to 3.7. So, like, you're seeing a sort of global idea that these things might be sort of moving up a little bit, or sort of, at least hanging around a little stickier than people would like. So with that, you're not going to go, yep, bang, let's go full hog, because remember there was a couple of conditions that Bullock wanted to have sort of met before she would cut. One of them was a two quarter-on-quarter prints of CPI in the band. They've only had one, so that's a condition not met. You've got headline CPI, which is in the sort of target range, I don't think the Forex calendar gives the two, but as you can see here, we got core and so the headline, and obviously 2 to 3% is now the accepted sort of band, but this is obviously above, and that's obviously UK. I get that, but you know, we don't seem to have. Of course, we don't have it here because this is this is the rate decision here, but I don't think Forex Factory, this one here, actually sort of prints the core one as well. So you can obviously see that data as well, but the point is that the headline is in the percent is in there, but the core isn't. And the core is sort of like, you know, when you sort of strip out your volatile things like your petrol and I think rent and maybe a few other bits and pieces. I'm not 100% sure, but the point is they're both not pointing in the direction of a cut. If they were both down there, if you had the headline and the core both in that sort of that sweet zone, well, okay, that makes more sense. But you haven't met the quarter on quarter. Your headline is there, but your core isn't. You've got other central banks which are potentially looking to hold. Sorry, looking to hold. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. What I'm saying. Other central banks that are potentially, well, I guess maybe they would be looking to hold, based on the fact that their CPI is also sort of moving up a little bit. So, look, I don't think it's as done and dusted as everybody says. Like, I think a lot of what people sort of go off is what you sort of see in the news, and it's like, oh, you know, home loan lenders or borrowers, you know, they're going to be holding their breath. I mean, come on, like realistically, they're sort of like, you know, they're saving $90 a month or something. Like, I don't think it, and that's only if the banks pass on the full amount as well. So I think a lot of emphasis is put on this whole sort of like, oh my God, let's all feel sorry and have drama for these sort of people. And look, I'm sure a lot of people are doing it tough, but you know, again, as I've said a number of times, you didn't need to borrow a million bucks, you know, particularly if you can't afford to pay it back. The housing market's screwed because of this as well. So good luck for anyone, even myself particularly, that wants to try and buy something because you know you're just paying ridiculous amounts for rubbish, and it's because of these people that sort of had to have it. They just had to buy the biggest one, all these sort of things. So yeah, you can't have your cake and eat it too, so to speak. So yeah, there's very little sort of sympathy. And I think the thing is with life of that, there's like a couple of sort of self-correcting moments. And I feel that that's potentially what's happening with the market here a little bit as well. So, yeah, I mean, I'm getting a bit off on a tangent here, but you know what I mean? For instance, I held on to Aussie too long for a swing trade, got wiped out. You know what I mean? I'm not looking for other people to pay that bill. I pay that bill. And you know, some people sort of borrow too much and can't afford to pay it back. I'm sorry, but yeah, that's their bad decision as well. That's their holding Aussie for too long. Anyway, so getting distracted with all. Back to the charts. So look, what I'm sort of thinking through here, I think this is still a plausible trade. I think sort of maybe a retest of these levels here. We haven't seen them. I thought it might have come yesterday, but obviously fired up and then just kind of dribbled overnight. But we did have a couple of interesting things happening. One is obviously we've just tipped into this zone that we've been looking at for ages. Big body fill from this big drop down here, as if you know what I do and what I look for in that. I love the body fills on these big drops. They're great sort of little great little set of targets. We've come in there pretty much to the point and then obviously sold back here a little bit as well. Um, we've overshot this. I wasn't a big fan of this rising resistance. It was a point. It sort of looked to maybe hold a little bit this and that, but I'm not really thinking the market's looking at this too much. So let's just zap him back there a little bit. You can say to here because he kind of became null through here. So a little bit of a move down because look, they are sort of heading towards this sort of cut, and there is potentially going to be a cut. And you know, if they do cut, then the knee-jerk reaction of the market will be the sell down. If they come out saying, "Hey, look, you know what? This is a wait and see approach in that we're going to sort of see what happens with this one cut," or the other side of it is, as I said before, I gave a couple of reasons as to why they may potentially hold. Um, the risk is more for the upside move. Because as I said, it's heavily been priced in for ages. US dollar weakness is definitely upon the market. So, yeah, there's room for further falling, at least in the medium term, with some US dollar weakness. And I think that could be what actually drives us up towards our price target, is 42.20 area, 42.15-ish, you know, this ballpark up over here. But I think sort of like you may see a little bit of a pull down here. Look for some entries and look for them to sort of say, hey, look, you know what? We're actually we're going to sort of do this one cut and we're going to wait and see how it affects the market, how the market responds. If we see inflation come up, then obviously that'll be it for the time being. So I think very much the move will sort of result in some sort of growth or appreciation in price, but I would want to be buying or at least having a shot from back down at these levels. I think this is something that sort of you can hopefully sort of look for here because look, the fact that it cuts will get people to go, okay, bang, because as I said, there's reason for them not to cut. So some people will be taking positions for that. If they do cut, they'll just exit out, and that'll give you a quick move down. Clear the book, stop out some positions, and then hold on, wait, maybe it's a bit more hawkish with the cut, and we've got a chance to appreciate. So that's how I'm kind of looking at the Aussie sort of moving forward here. All right, flip across. We got USD, we got DXY over here. So look, I was looking for a little bit of a sort of higher drive here to sort of come back down. Obviously, it did this little pattern, but really just snoozed around this lower level here. Got almost like a little bit of a band that we can use off here. Look, I still think there's potential for this to sort of maybe dribble up here, or at least stuff around this zone a little bit. It was a smaller zone that we had from mark back over here. Actually had it heavily marked over here. Can't remember what gave me such a sort of thought to point that out. But as obviously it's really sort of gravitating around this 106 sort of 70 level. Look, it was a US holiday. It was President's Day yesterday, so volumes, particularly in the US session, were super quiet. So as you can see, it really just sort of tapered off. It tried to get up here a couple of times, but boom, boom. It's more just sort of like a failure to break down. And this is a very DXY kind of move in that. Very hard selling down, moves up, comes back down. So I was actually saying to a mate, I'm like, look, it was coming into this sort of close here. And I'm like, if this holds here, we're probably going to see a little bit of a reversal. And obviously, yes, we got that little sort of reversal, but not reversal up over here, but intraday tradable ranges reversal moving up through here. So look, I think still this is it. You need to take out Friday's low. I think that's still the target that we're kind of sort of looking for. 105.80. I don't think the job's done till we get down to here. I mean, you could say this is some sort of little bit of a bear flag, but it's a bit hard with these things because where do you put the measure? Like maybe this. Takes you right down into that band. Could be. I mean, this, as I said, it's super wicky up here with all these sort of parts down here. Look, I'm not a big fan of this particular one just for the measured move. Yes, it lines up with the price target. And this does look like it could bear flag out. So I do think we are coming down over here. But, do you put this here or do you put this here? You know what I mean? Like it's a bit sort of all over the shop. So let's take rid of this anyway. Look, even so with this, I do think that this is the little sort of channel that it is sort of playing off. If we do get a little push up over here, I'd expect this to sort of come into effect again still, and then to be sort of sold down into. So, there's a chance for a little bit more dribble and sort of correction and moving up, move down kind of thing before we sort of see it take its next leg. I'm not expecting this, particularly this kind of setup right now, to be the base. I don't expect that that just doesn't look right to sort of come back up here and fly back up over here. Could come back tomorrow and be very wrong, but we'll see. We will see. All right, let's flip around. So we got gold, and gold moved up as we sort of thought. I got that trade sort of very early yesterday, and then bang, I was like, here we go, and then of course, boom, reversal back up here, but that's okay because I tried low time frames. I caught this wick here, and I got out down here, and then I had a couple of trades through these ones here. I actually put a post on X yesterday, the conversation I was having with a mate, where basically this whole sort of section here, particularly this, and also silver felt very squeezy. Silver more so because it actually took out the lows, this little move down here, which would have trapped in a bunch of shorts. It just felt squeezed, like short squeeze, and it just moved up here. I said, look, let's look for that sort of short again come into the end of Asia, and it just went boop boop, and then bang, smack down. Silver obviously played a lot better to that effect, but you can see obviously this is a nice little area through here where the buyers are sitting. So this is where we want to see. Let's go direction. We want to see what they do here. Okay, and we've lost it. Yeah, I know what we do. Do this one. Yeah. Boom. So once this takes out here, look, you do have this little wick down here to 89, but most likely you're probably going to see this move down and attack this 83 area over here. Because as a mate was saying to me yesterday, he's like, oh no, look, it's a bull flag. It's not a bull flag. I mean, look, if you just look at that, excuse me, yeah, it certainly leads to the idea that it could be. But you've got to look at these things in context. And realistically, I mean, this could be seen as the second effort of the sellers, very much so, and because obviously buyers pushed up and they're holding, holding, holding here. But I think this is on a 30-minute time frame. If you look at this here, I think certainly, it's probably due for another attempt lower. Like it has sort of tried to hold up and it's opening up and moving up here a little bit. Look, as I said on the weekend, I said above 29.10. Well, you kind of negate it and you've got a chance to move back up. And we're seeing this play out now. What did it get to? 29.06 yesterday. So look, if it does move up and comes through here, then yeah, you could say, look at this, it's just pushing up here. And I would say, as we've got this big box marked out, there's a good chance that you see this turn into a bit of a range. Yeah, turn into a bit of a range. But as it is at the moment, I do believe we've got one move here, found support, one move here, found resistance. I think we need to sort of come down here and do your higher low, double bottom, lower low move. I think this is the leg that we need to sort of see happen. It could sort of shoot above here, and as I said, above 29.10, it negates this, and potentially what we do is this, and this leg here becomes the higher low through here. But you need to get above 29, real 29. 20, look, call it 29.10 to give it a little bit of a breathing space because 29.06 you got up to. But what you want to see is it move above this zone over here, above that sort of 29.10. Then you can say, okay, it's negated it. Here's your first effort, support, resistance, and then this is just the third effort here. This is the third leg. Buyers have moved from here, they've moved to here, now they're moving up. And you can see that charge push it back up. But I would again sort of be cautious as to sort of what we're going to see because this is a big sell down from these levels. And I think any moves up over here, people are going to be very cautious about that kind of stuff. Not to say that it can't, and I do, as I keep saying, I am a believer of a 3,000 club, um, but I'm cautious about buying these things here just for the fact that we could have some downside come before we do hit that 3,000 target. All right, so we've got silver. Silver, actually, where's this is the one we had. Is it? Oh no, we moved them around. So as I said, big sell off on Friday. We covered this one, the horseshoe, the what's it called? The high heel, some sort of shoe. Anyway, so look, we're starting to see a little bit of a line sort of come through here. Similar sort of thing that we've seen the bounce, second effort, third effort, buyers are moving up, buyers are moving up, buyers are moving up. If we see this line sort of break, I mean, you've got a couple of layers where you could see the buyers step back in. Certainly, you need to hold 32. This could sort of turn into a bit of a flag and sort of see a bit more downside. Again, same similar thing with gold. You can see very clear cut this move where the sellers are, and they're just trying to hold this thing here. So normally you would say, okay, look, this is an ascending triangle, but you got to sort of think these are periods of consolidation. Periods of consolidation favor direction entered. Negative direction entered means it favors a continuation. Plus, this is a little bit inverse to what silver normally does. As I've covered a number of times, this is how silver likes to do it. It goes deeper, 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 then blows up to the top side. This is higher, 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 which, yes, okay, buys are moving up, moving up, moving up. I still think this potentially has some downside here. This one we can actually put a bit more of a measured move across. What the hell's going on here? Yeah, and that would sort of give you pretty much an equal swing from the top out here. I'm not buying silver at the moment. I think this is very much setting up for a bit of a short. I think this is sorry, just selling some silver. I think this is very much so selling up for a short. Look, we've got a very sort of a clear line here. I mean, look, you know where you're wrong. If it moves up here, okay, you back up towards 33, but I think this favors a continuation to the downside. This last little push here, maybe you can't look at it too much, but again, it's putting in a lower high and rolling over. The RSI, obviously, the buying pressure is not matching it much at all. There's a couple of levels through here where I think it could find support, but should it break through here, I think you are at least minimum coming, another 20, 30 points down to test these levels at 32, and I think 32 is going to be your sweet spot, make or break. I think that's where we're going to sort of see what this move is kind of made of. Look, there are sort of certain areas, obviously, we've got marked out here where we have seen the market value it. So I think this could obviously sort of provide sort of midway targets. But should you break through here, I think that could be a potential downside move coming to around sort of low 31s. So yeah, I'd be cautious buying silver at this point. Move along and cover DXY. Yeah, we did do DXY, we've done gold, we've done silver, we've done Aussie. Have a look at copper. And copper pretty much right into that level and sort of sold off kind of here. It's finding a little bit of support earlier in the session here now. Jump on to 4 hour because this is how we trade these ones. It obviously sort of, of the metals, it sort of obviously fared the worst, so to speak, because these are the Friday lows and it actually took it out and ended up lower. I think gold and silver actually sort of held theirs as we sort of covered there yesterday. So it's always a wonder, sort of like, is copper the little canary of the metals market? So one sec. And obviously that was leading the way for a little bit of a cooling through here. Look, it's been on an absolute rip from those lows. If we keep updating this thing, it's a 15% move from start of February. So that's 2 weeks from the 3rd of February. It's now the 18th. So yeah, 2 weeks basically, and it's gone up 15%. Like that is a massive breakout. So realistically, the fact that it's coming back down, not really too much of an issue. The fact that, let's get rid of this for now, it doesn't confuse us. The fact that it comes back down now is not really too much of an issue. It's really only at the 38%. I could see this maybe dribbling around a little bit more. So put you here because that's what we wanted to see. Yeah, pretty heavily oversold 4 hour. As a daily look. Yeah, dailies are back to the supports there. Actually, yeah, who cares? So let's just mark this up. This is a level you want to see it hold over the 38 there, as you can see. Zone. RSI trying to sort of flatten out through here. Should this break through here, look for a major retest. I think is probably the play through there. Look, I mean, obviously you got some wicks, so probably under the wick is a little bit safer. But again, if you update this thing right to the top, that's still the 61% retracement. in line with major breakouts through here. So very much could wipe out the markets. Look, if we get a shot back down over here, then I'd be sort of looking to sort of buy this thing back up for another run and targeting back up the top over here. Interesting. This is the area you want to see it hold this 38. If it holds the 38, then you're targeting back up towards 480 straight away. But I think may need to be punished a little bit before it does do that. Cool. And China, pretty much as expected. So on the weekend, I was saying, look, pretty much expecting a little bit of a consolidation through this period. And where did it open up yesterday? So this was open yesterday, came down, bang, moved back up. It's almost like an arbitrary point of where I put the bottom of this, but as you can see, pretty much exactly in line as you sort of think with it all. It's back into its little sort of grind. We'll see what happens here. If it breaks above high, breaks higher here, I imagine it to be fairly short-lived and then sort of possibly run into some issues with these previous lows over here and then see this sold down here. Again, I imagine this just consolidate a little bit through this period here. It does have the ability to sort of grind its way all the way back up over here. If we do see that, then, it's got to put Aussie under pressure in that. But as I said, as a broad sort of thing, I think that US dollar is being sold off across the board. I think this will come down here, finally sort of test this major level down here, this 722. That's when we start to see a little bit of sort of US dollar buying, possibly as DXY would be coming into around that 105.80 target around the same time. And then we could see a little bit of appreciation up here. You see Aussie coming off from 64. You see DXY buying up from 158. And we get that sort of nice sort of cross-chart confluence that we're kind of always looking for. All right, cool. And onto the news. As I said, big one for today. 25 base point cut expected from RBA. The press conference afterwards is going to be probably the bigger mover, as the press conference over in the Fed generally are. Hopefully they keep it to one or two questions. I noticed they've been sort of sneaking these things in. I've just got one. I've got two questions, and the second one's a two-parter. So more and more three questions, all this kind of sort of stuff with it all. So yeah, we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, as I said, I think sort of certainly we've got a little bit of a better level that we could possibly buy, a lower risk level that we could possibly buy Aussie from. That's it from me.